He's 40 feet away near the timeline. Now Jimmer sizing up Moss. Oh, no. Oh, yes! Oh, yes!
Oh, no. Oh, yes. Jim Range is back. We're fresh off of Feast Week. Took the week off. No pod last week. But we're back, and we have a lot to talk about. We got Maui. We have the PK85. I'm Carl, joined by my co-host, Alex. Alex, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was solid, Got to go back home and got to see a lot of family. Yeah, it's good. It's what Thanksgiving's for. I'm not a big fan of, the food on Thanksgiving in general.
Oh, that's a take.
It is a take. And, listen, maybe I joined Tristan Freeman in, bad food takes, but I just don't understand all the hype surrounding, it's not even, turkey isn't, even, a top 3 poultry, I would say. So I say that without thinking about the other poultries, but
yeah, I mean, I'm more of a Thanksgiving side guy.
Well, yeah, I feel like you should be. I enjoy stuffing. My brother made mac and cheese this year. That was good.
Yeah.
My family's not usually a mac and cheese guy, but that's why I used to just be a strictly one helping of turkey, and then I'll just go into the sides. But yeah, I don't know. Not a big Thanksgiving food guy, which I know is definitely a hot take. But
yeah, I saw somebody. I don't remember where I saw this. Probably Twitter, because that's where I take in most of my information, for better or worse. Yeah, but somebody had the take that if Thanksgiving food is so good, why don't we have it the rest of the year? So I feel like that's probably where you are on this.
It is.
Just why don't we have it the rest of the year?
Turkey's overrated. I don't even think it's overrated. I just think people we've gotten so used to it being a staple.
I like turkey cold cuts, but that's different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good, man. I mean, between college basketball and the World Cup, I'm just not sleeping anymore.
Yeah, the sleep is minimal right now. It's not good. It's not healthy.
Pretty tough.
Yeah.
But shout out to the U.S. Just beat Iran. And we know it's Iran because
we know it's Iran.
Yeah.
The Tyler Adams press conference.
Yeah.
Yes, but shout out Christian Pulisic, big game player.
Absolutely.
Graham Potter, please tell me you've been watching this World Cup. Take into consideration what your bench players, your bench warmers are playing.
Big time players.
They need to play in open space. Games. Okay, that was my little Chelsea rant. I hadn't done that in a while, so.
I just need Gio Reyna to see the field more. That's really all it is.
Yeah, I don't understand some of Berhalter's tactics. I won't lie. Why are we trying to absorb pressure for the final 20 minutes of the game? I get that, that's the safe option. I didn't like it as a fan.
I've never been a big park the bus guy.
We are not a team to absorb pressure.
I just don't think. I remember my junior year of high school. We were in our conference semifinals. And we were up 1-0, and we parked the bus, and it backfired, and we gave up a goal in the last 5 minutes, and then lost in PKs, and I missed a PK. So, pretty tough.
Yeah, no, it's so hard to absorb pressure for that long. Just sit in that low block, it just. I don't know, man. Hey, they're through though. Netherlands Saturday, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern. Let's roll.
Winnable game.
Sure. Listen, when you take the field at this point, anything's a winnable game. Saudi Arabia beat Argentina. I think that's all we need to look at.
True. Very true. All right, Feast Week. We got games.
Yes,
we got games to talk about. Let's start with Maui, because this was a stacked Maui Invitational. Oh, my goodness.
So
and
good.
I think my overarching takeaway from Maui is that other than Louisville and I guess Cincinnati at times, every single team looked good. There was never a game where I was Ohio State looks bad. San Diego State doesn't look good. Every single team, Arizona, Arkansas, Creighton, Ohio State, San Diego State, Texas Tech, I think all looked great.
Yes.
It was everything I could have asked for.
San Diego State was a little overwhelmed against Arizona, but other than that, I mean, I can't talk enough about those top 3. Arkansas, Creighton, and Arizona are all legit.
Mm-hmm.
I get Arkansas. I mean, we're recording this after Arkansas had the scare against Troy on Monday, but Creighton, that late run to make that an actual game against Arizona, the pace at which Arizona plays, the fact that like Tubelis, Larson, Krisa, Ballo, 29 and 11 or whatever it was against Kalkbrenner, which is absurd.
Yeah, crazy.
He was just, their efficiency at just getting layups.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get so many easy layups. It's absurd. Creighton can hoop. That we knew that. Like it's tough when you take the ball out of Shireman's hands, but like, which is what Arizona did for the most of that game. But they're so good.
Yeah, I mean, we can go through the one team you mentioned. San Diego State kind of as that fourth team, and like my takeaway for San Diego State was that they're good, and I do think they're capable of a March run, like we kind of suspected from the beginning.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem. There were times where it didn't seem like the offense was really where you wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were times where it was like, all right, Matt Bradley, like, could you do something?
Bail us out.
It was like, it was like the guy poking with the stick meme, just like, hey, do something. Yeah. Like I was waiting for Matt Bradley to do something, and it seemed like it just didn't really show up. But they're gonna be a problem. Like they're a team that's gonna end up, I think, on the like, 17. They're gonna be on like like the 6 or 7, and it's gonna be like you do not want to play them.
No, you don't.
Let's talk Arkansas.
Okay.
Anthony Black, man.
I try to tell people. Tell people.
He's crazy. Also, I did not expect Ricky Council to be that good.
No. I mean, he's
balling. He's balling right
now. He's hooping. Nick Smith is finally back. He didn't play in the tournament, but he's back now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get the concerns over the front court, but I mean, when that guard play is that good, like it just Anthony Black, like I don't know if like I don't have words to describe it, but his just individual efforts alone in Hawaii were like I can't like just his playmaking, his vision, the clutch shot making at times was absurd. Like this team is going to get up and down. Muss has this team firing. Like I get they dropped the game to Creighton, but I mean 90-87. That was just an absurd game. I don't like have a lot of descriptors for this team other than they were like I get the preseason scares, but they are what I thought they would be when I like tabbed them for like a March run.
Yeah. But that was the thing for me with all of Maui. It was just the lack of disappointment with teams. Like there wasn't a team that I was expecting to be good, and I was like, they're not really as good as I thought they would be. Like Creighton, I said at one point earlier on the podcast that maybe it's a little unrealistic to expect, all these players on Creighton to take a jump. I was wrong. Ryan Nembhard rocks.
Yep.
Yeah, Trey Alexander rocks.
Arthur
Kalkbrenner's awesome.
Rocks.
This team can shoot now.
Yep.
I mean, the game between Arkansas and Creighton felt like an Elite Eight.
An Elite Eight game. Yep.
Yes.
That was a second weekend possible Final Four like preview.
Mm-hmm.
To like the utmost degree. And then Arizona was like, well, we're winning this.
Yeah. Creighton just has both Creighton and Arkansas. They just have so many guys who can beat you.
Yep.
It's just a tough matchup all around.
And they have a willingness to like swing the rock too. Like it's not just like individually they could all hang 20 on you, but like they find guys in the right spots. Like Nembhard rarely, like I was shocked when Nembhard was turning the ball over against Arizona. Maybe that was due to being sped up, but like that's how crazy good offensively that team is.
Mm-hmm.
And Shireman still has his defensive concerns, but like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, I think you trade that for the shooting.
The offensive, yeah.
Yeah, you trade that for the offense because that's what you don't need any more defense.
Yeah.
You just need guys who can shoot. So.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Arizona walks away with the Maui title in a loaded field, and Arizona was a team that I was very hesitant to buy in on in the preseason because you lose Benedict Mathurin, you lose Dalen Terry, who you expected to be back, you lose Christian Coloco. That's 3 NBA players that you don't have anymore. So now it's kind of this. misfit
steps up.
roster of like, all right, we cobbled together. We got Courtney Ramey. Like, all right, maybe Pelle Larson takes a jump. We have Tubelis back. Ballo, will he develop? Ballo developed. Ballo's really good. That front court's scary. That front court's really scary.
Yes. Like I mean, Greg, when we had Greg on for the hot takes episode, I mean, I didn't really believe him when he said that I forget what Michigan team he compared it to, but when he said that it was a bunch of guys who were like the third, fourth, fifth option, just stepping up into the 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't buy that initially, but obviously, like, you can't look at that team now with the early season resume and not say that he was wrong, because Kriisa is going to Kriisa, but he's done a good job so far. Ramey offers them upside on both ends of the floor. Ballo is him. Tubelis gets so many easy buckets, and like Larson, aside from like the foul trouble, was great. So, and the bench too. So like Tommy Lloyd has his team rolling.
Yeah,
to say the least.
It's just such a tough. Tubelis and Ballo could both be deserving of getting doubled, right?
Yeah,
and then
but you can't.
You can't double both of them. You have to leave one of them open. I mean, Arizona's racing up and down the court once again. Probably going to finish number 1 in pace, and then, I mean, Courtney Ramey, once he's out of Texas's system and actually able to run, he looks really good. He looks really, really good. Maybe it's crazy. This was one of my takeaways for Arizona. It's only year 2, and I'm already ready to say Tommy Lloyd is a top 10 coach in the sport.
It's not a bad take.
I mean, year 1 wins the Pac-12.
Small sample size, but
year 1 goes like 34-3, wins the Pac-12, wins the Pac-12 tournament. Yep. Year 2, he opens it up by winning Maui, and now they're a top 5 team in the country.
Yep,
I think in the AP poll. Maybe some of the ranking is due to attrition as far as the coaches go. Like, I think, we've seen some all-time great coaches retire, so that gives some guys the opportunity to jump up. But like, I think Tommy Lloyd's a top 10 coach. I really do. Maybe that's reactionary, but I really think
I'm trying to roll through it like in my head, but that's a fair take.
Yeah, I mean, we can run through it. I mean, Few, Self, Cal, Scott Drew, Tony Bennett.
Yep.
Izzo.
Painter.
I like Painter. I think
Thank you. Yeah.
That we'll talk about Purdue once we get to the PK85, but
we will. But okay, so Painter. Do in my head going conference. Must, yeah. Pac-12, no one might be better than Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, Altman's kind of killing his case, I think.
UCLA has those early 2 losses, but like, I don't know if I'd put Cronin in the top 10.
Yeah, but even the fact that and I'm sure there's a couple guys that
Bruce Pearl,
they're probably obvious, but
like Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, I think there's an argument.
Mark Adams.
Yeah, there's an argument.
Yeah, I'm naming guys, but
end of the day, there's a case at least for Tommy Lloyd to be top 10.
Beard, obviously.
I'm sure we're blanking on some guys that were really obvious. So
Beard's a definite top 10 guy.
Oh, Beard, absolutely, yes.
So that might be tricky once you get. He's top 50. Lloyd's top 20 for sure. Creeping in top. If he's not top 15 already, he's creeping to that top 10.
Yeah. And
So.
I mean, he was coach of the year last year as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. I'm just saying there's a case. I'm sure there's some coaches that we forgot that were like, you have to include them.
Yeah.
So don't get mad at us. It's hard on the spot to think of like every single coach of the 360 Division I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other takeaways from Maui? I mean, Louisville's so bad.
Louisville's apathetic.
They're just so bad.
It's so sad.
Terps play them tonight. I'm a little scared.
You shouldn't be worried about it.
I shouldn't be, but I am.
I know. It's okay.
Cincinnati, we can just touch on them. Like I don't think they're as good as people thought they'd be in year 2 of Wes Miller.
Yeah.
Like they've kind of killed. Have they killed their chances for an at-large? Probably. Yeah.
I mean, a win over Louisville is not going to get you.
No, that does not move the needle whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing some people say they would finish like second in the American. I just don't think so. I think it's Tulane, and Tulane has not looked as good as I wanted them to either, but I think it's a race for third at this point.
Well, I mean, Memphis.
I think
throwing them in there.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's Houston, Memphis, and then
East Carolina. No,
somebody. Oh, sure. Yeah, why not? Yeah, big game against South Carolina State tonight.
Big game.
Huge game.
Huge game. Go Pirates.
All right, PK85. Do you want to start with the invitational bracket or the legacy bracket?
Whatever your heart desires. Which one do you think more talking points?
I don't know. We can start with the invitational bracket. I don't even remember which one that is off the top of my head.
That's the UNC one.
Okay, let's start with that.
Actually, that's the UConn one.
Yes, there you go. Yes. There you go. UNC finally lost.
Twice.
Yeah.
They made my weekend slightly better.
I'm trying to find the actual bracket.
I mean, they struggled against Portland. Portland was probably the better team in that game for like 35 minutes.
Dude, Portland is good.
Yes,
Portland's a good team.
Yes. Would you see? This is like I'm glad I have a few like mutual followers that are like, or mutual followers that are like Gonzaga Twitter. So like I get to see the West Coast Conference discourse, and like, do you have Portland above St. Mary's after that? Like, they play UNC close. They beat the brakes off of Villanova.
I don't have them above St. Mary's.
And they lose by 1 to Michigan State.
I don't have them above St. Mary's. But
okay, no, it's fair. It might be a little. The recency bias is there, but
WCC, I go Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and then Portland, San Francisco are kind of hovering around the same tier.
Yeah,
but that's a game I'm excited for. Is Portland, San Francisco?
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, Portland's good. I'm totally on the wrong bracket, but.
Yeah, Michigan State had the scare against. They dropped the game to Alabama.
Yes.
Jackson Kohler steps on the ankle, which that was a crazy discourse. That was like Twitter was
some interesting controversy there of whether his
whether he was pushed into the shoelace thing. Anyways,
whatever it is, it's a bad look.
That aside. Who they beat in the second game? Was it Villanova? No, it was.
They did beat Villanova.
Michigan State did beat Villanova. That was in the Gavitt games, but I was wondering who they played in their second game.
Michigan State or Alabama?
Michigan State.
I believe they played Oregon in their second game.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Oregon, not it. I mean, I get they have like 6-7 scholarship players available, healthy, which is always tough. I do have a friend here that is pumping, he isn't pumping the brakes on Altman and this Oregon team because he's like, oh, that's always what Oregon looks like. They always struggle on the break. Nah, this is a little concerning.
It is. No, it is.
But,
yeah, I mean, especially after last season, Dan Altman was one of those bounce back candidates, and it's just not panning out for Oregon. But up top, well, actually, let's say at this kind of half of the bracket, Alabama is really good. Brandon Miller is him.
Yep.
I think this is a way more balanced Alabama team than we've seen in previous years. I don't think they're as reliant on the three-pointer, maybe still a little bit too reliant on the three-pointer, but this team defends way. I think they're not quite as good as that 2020 Alabama team? Yeah. I don't think they're quite as good as that team, but I think they're
right
close.
There.
I think they're close. Yeah.
Well, it's just that UNC Bama game, aside from the fact that, I mean, there was the obvious goaltending call that's going to obviously have its own controversy. But it was, to me, it was just it became first of all, like shout out Leaky Black for like his defense on Brandon Miller, which again, like Leaky Black might be one of the more underrated, even though he gets his praise. Like he is such a good wing defender. But like it was so interesting to kind of just see the shot selection decision making of like Javon Quinterly and Caleb Love take center stage in those 4 overtime periods.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone wanted that.
Do you think the 4 overtime game was a good game?
No.
Okay. Because I agree.
It was
I don't think it was a
entertaining.
good game.
I did want to claw my eyes out at like the thought process on some of those shots. Like I get when Caleb Love is saying like the rim looks as big as the ocean kind of thing, but he took 36 shots. 36.
That's so many shots. That's a crazy amount of shots.
36 in 16 minutes of basketball or whatever. 16 minutes of basketball.
I think people will look at 4 overtimes and be like, wow.
What a game. No.
What a game. It just devolved into like they basically stopped running any type of offensive sets by
pick and roll
the second
and let
by the second overtime.
And I get it, they were gassed, but like I don't know like what overtime period it was. Like they all blend together at this point, but there was one where like Javon Quinterly either got like a rebound or like got into the lane, and he did this like weird like up and under, but like missed the entire hoop. And I was like, why? What was the need for this? Like it is not 2018. We don't.
Yeah.
Jellyfam is no longer generating millions of views on YouTube. We don't need that. Just get the bucket, please.
And even after all that, Carolina lost.
I know. And like not even like they did not get Mark Sears the ball in overtime.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
They didn't make RJ Davis defend. Like what? They just sat Sears in like that like opposite corner wing, and they were like content with letting Javon Quinterly make the decisions, which I guess is fine. But yeah, Carolina loses back-to-back games. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Iowa State had them. I mean, this is kind of what just feels like. I know like the UCLA UNC comp is like being thrown around a lot, but I mean they haven't looked like it was just they hit the wall. They hadn't looked like the number 1 team in the country all season. And
I mean, they've looked like the team that opened last year, where they're not playing defense, they're not deep. It's really weird.
Because on paper they should be deep. On paper they should be able to go to their bench.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like I don't get it. Is Hubert Davis sandbagging? I don't know what's going on. It's whatever it is, it's not good. Another team that isn't good, Villanova. Villanova's bad, dude.
Yeah.
They're not good. And I'm, as much as I want to like kind of gloat about it, because Greg and I said like, hey, if like any team in the top 25 just bottoms out, it's going to be Villanova. This like isn't even fun anymore. Like they're just not good. And there's nothing about their team that's like even watchable. Like they don't play defense. They can't hit shots. They don't really have a star. They're playing Chris Archidiakono like 35 minutes a game. It's just not good. Like, and I don't even know, are they able to be fixed? Like can Cam Whitmore and Justin Moore come back and fix this team? I don't really know.
I don't know anymore.
And they're playing like 6 guys. Like this Villanova team is really bad.
Yeah. Soul searching to do.
Yeah. And we've talked about it. Like their identity for the last decade has been Jay Wright, one of the best coaches in the history of college basketball, and extremely high level guard play. You go from Ryan Archidiakono to Jalen Brunson to Colin Gillespie, basically an unbroken line of succession for 10 years. And now you don't have like an All-American guard anymore, at least not one that's healthy.
Yeah.
So, and there's still like no time. I mean, I'm seeing like these rumors. Oh, Cam Whitmore practiced today. He practiced today and his thumb wasn't wrapped, but it's like, there's still no timeline for when Whitmore or Justin Moore are going to be back. And so until like, people don't want to make grand sweeping conclusions about Villanova because they're without their 2 best players, but this is the team for the foreseeable future. This is just what they are. So I'm okay with making conclusions about it because it doesn't look like anything's changing anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but they're not good.
Yeah.
Because they lose the game to they lose to Iowa State, then they lose the game to Portland, and then
they lose.
Then they lose to Oregon. Did they lose every single game in this tournament?
Did they lose to Oregon?
I'm pretty sure they lost to Oregon. Yeah, they lost to Oregon because they lost to Oregon because Oregon had 6 scholarship players available and still beat them.
That's absurd.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What do you? Is Villanova fixable? I guess is my question. Like,
I don't. It's so hard to project how someone returns from an Achilles injury. We've said that all preseason. It's like you don't know what you're getting from Moore. And then Cam Whitmore, like, he is really good, and there's a reason he's a projected lottery pick, and he will provide offensive upside to this team. But like, how much does he attract from the opposition? Like, opposition to the point where like he's getting his teammates open looks, which they're not shooting the ball well. So it's just, and they don't have that high level point guard, which you've said. So it's not hard to make the conclusion that like at this point they're one of, like, are they even in the middle tier of the Big East right now? Like, they can't be, right?
I think
I've seen rankings where they're 10th. They're ahead of DePaul, and that's it.
I saw that. I think if it's like I don't know, maybe you draw a distinction between like a power ranking versus like actually going through and ranking all the teams. Like, power ranking to me is just like, how are they playing right now? They're playing really bad. Yeah. But I would still put them in that middle
Once
tier.
They come back.
But I just don't think, like, Xavier's better than them. UConn is better than them. Creighton is better than them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, who else? Like, Providence, Seton Hall both look, respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Not great, but, like, it's not like Villanova is just going to beat up on this conference like they have for the last however long.
Yeah.
So, all right.
UConn?
Let's just talk about Iowa State really quick.
Okay.
What do you think about Iowa State based on what we've seen? Because I've seen some people be like they should be ranked in the top 25 after this tournament.
Well, like, yeah, I think it goes to your power ranking statement. I think on what we've seen, they deserve to. I mean, they owned UNC for the most part of that game, and then even when UNC took the lead with 3 minutes to play, they were able to claw back and win. Mm-hmm. Holmes can play. I mean, the two Bonnie's transfers, we knew what Usunier and Holmes can both play. Yeah. They're shooting the ball well. Now, on the other hand, like, Krill went off for 31 and then had like 3 points in the next game. So he's not
1 point.
Or 1 point.
Yes.
Was it 3 shots that he took or whatever?
He went from 31 points to 1 point.
Yeah.
So
aside from like him going nuclear, which is again like a de facto of like North Carolina's defense. So I don't know whether that's an indictment of like their offense or North Carolina's pathetic defense, but I mean, they defensively, they are what we thought they were. I think in terms of like the teams we've seen, I think it's fine to throw them into that top 25 because there are also teams that were like on that bubble or receiving votes area that just didn't show up last week. So I think on what we've seen, sure, but they're not a team that I think is going to like compete at, like, it's really reactionary to say they're going to compete at the top of the Big 12 if that's what people are saying.
Call me a hater if you want, but they got, going back to last year's tournament, they got really fortunate with matchups, right? They got to play a team that fired their head coach the day before the tournament, and then they got to play a team where you stop Johnny Davis and suddenly the team doesn't function anymore. And this time they got to play the weakest Villanova team we've seen in like 15 years and a North Carolina team that hasn't looked good in any game that they've played and doesn't play defense. So, I mean, call me a hater, but like, I'm not ready to say based on those games against those teams, just because of like, I mean, it's, you look on paper and it's like, all right, they beat North Carolina and they beat Villanova. And it's like, oh, those are, blue blood programs, but I don't think those are necessarily like great wins. Is that hating? Am I hating on Iowa State? Because their defense is really good. I'm ready to admit. I mean,
well, like on the same, So if you follow the same logic, are you saying that like Alabama's win over North Carolina isn't good?
I just don't think any part of that game was good.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
fair. Like if you keep like the same train of thought, I think it's a fine argument to make as long as you're not hypocritical. Like I don't think you're wrong in that assessment. But I mean they play that UConn team and UConn just picked them apart. So I don't know. I think it's still like that they made a run to the PKI final. So I think in terms of like what we've seen in 3 months of 3-4 weeks of November basketball, I'm fine if people have them in the top 25
Yeah.
because like the defense is going to keep them in games, especially in
It
the Big 12.
absolutely is. It absolutely is. But I mean, compared to like, so I had Ohio State actually in my top 25 for this week.
Okay.
Because like comparing who they played and how they played in Maui,
Yeah.
I feel better about Ohio State than I feel about Iowa State, and maybe some of that too is my my preseason, sort of baseline thoughts on these teams. Like I was higher on Ohio State than I was on Iowa State as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it. Okay, we can talk about UConn because they actually won this thing.
They did.
I mean, Sonogo's a beast, right? But he wasn't even the UConn big that won the most outstanding player.
Donovan Clinton.
The freshmen are dogs for this UConn team.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But like, I mean, Klingon's awesome. Alex Caravan is great.
Yep.
This team they're deep. Jordan Hawkins is great. Andre Jackson is great. Like this is everything is going right for them. Everything is going right for UConn. And they're just, I mean, Sonogo, I don't know where you would put him in terms of, if you're ranking player of the year candidates, but he's up there.
Already? Easily, yeah. Top 5 probably.
Top 5 for sure. He's awesome.
I mean, this team, like, very deserving of the top 10 ranking. They just got assessed from the AP poll.
Yeah.
They defend. I think they've got a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense in Ken Palm.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's really not much not to love. Like I know my hot take was that Creighton was just going to steamroll the Big East, but UConn is really going to make that difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I didn't think. Like I thought UConn was really going to be a team that kind of like leaned on Sonogo so much that they just kind of hung around in that like bottom 5 in the top 25. Like they just kind of hung around that like mid-20s ranking. But, I mean, couldn't have been more wrong in that assessment.
I mean, my take on UConn was that they were a good candidate to kind of just improve as the year went on, because I think they had a lot of moving pieces. Like they needed the freshmen to step up and be good, and they needed like Jordan Hawkins and Andre Jackson to both play well, and they're already at the place that I kind of thought they would be at the end of the year, where they're just, I mean, they steamrolled every single team they played in this tournament. Just crazy.
Michigan State, Bama, Iowa State.
Like just crushed all of them.
Crazy run.
By like, I mean, they beat Iowa State by 18 points. They beat, where's the game against? They beat Bama by 15.
Yep.
And they beat Oregon by 24.
Yeah.
They're just destroying all of these power conference teams. It's crazy.
It is.
So it is like, I mean, it is closer. And I think that's, I mean, we talked about Arizona already in the Maui, but Arizona might already be better. I mean, I ranked them ahead of UCLA this week, but like my preseason take for the Big East and the Pac-12 was like, it's Creighton and it's UCLA. And there are other contenders in those conferences. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. You want to move over to
the legacy? Sure.
I guess we didn't really touch on Michigan State, but like they're just kind of solid. Like they're good, but they still don't have a star.
Yeah. A good collection of parts.
Yeah. Jury's still out on Michigan State. I'm not really ready to have my
which is crazy considering like where we were at 2 weeks ago after the Champions Classic and the aircraft carrier.
which is
Well, I just thought people were exceptionally high on them after those 2 games against Gonzaga and Kentucky, which is fine. Small sample size.
the Kentucky one. The Kentucky one I understand more than the Gonzaga one. I just
I know
on principle
yeah.
disagree with conclusions about the aircraft carrier game for either team.
Outside win, both, yeah.
So, because it was pretty. I mean, Izzo's he's a great coach and knows how to game plan. And like the aircraft carrier game is such an easy game to game plan for. It's just like go under every screen and make them shoot, because the farther away we make them shoot from, the more the outside elements are gonna mess with their shot. Like so. And that worked. Like it kept them in the game. And then Gonzaga was forced to go inside and not take jump shots, which they like taking jump shots. So, but I digress. All right. PK Legacy. I liked this side. I think this side was more interesting than the other.
It was enjoyable.
Than the Invitational one. Let's start with Duke, because I think I want to hear from you about Duke. Okay. Which of these was more disappointing to you? The close win against Oregon State or the blowout loss to Purdue?
Easily the close win against Oregon State.
Okay.
That was more alarming.
Talk about it.
I think the first thing is they don't have Duke's bread and butter, obviously their foundation. Since I think 2016 is a good assessment, is that like we're going to have this one focal point freshman that we can go to. Mm-hmm. And as good as Kyle Filipowski has been, he's not on that same tier of guys we can just throw the ball into when you look at Paolo and you look at Marvin Bagley, or even to like a lesser extent when they like collegiate careers, when it was like Jason Tatum and Brandon Ingram. I think that's partially a concern. I think another, like, defensively they're there. Like, set aside the Purdue game because Purdue just kind of picked it apart. Mm-hmm. That was just like, you can't. Like, something that stuck out with me is that, like, Coach Chris Collins, like, after Northwestern played Purdue and Wes Ryan last year, was asked, like, what do you do to game plan for a 7'4" Zach Edey? And, like, you really can't. You can't replicate his size in practice. You can't – he is a willing passer at times. He can just see over guys that are just abnormally sized human beings, and he's just that much taller than them. When he gets you on and he's able to turn to that left shoulder, there's nothing you can do, right? Like, he doesn't like low, like, just because. So, like, that Purdue game I'm kind of like setting aside, but in terms of like the argument, Duke couldn't really figure out a way to deal with Tinkle's like defensive pressure and like that Oregon State team. And like when you stack up individual talent to individual talent, there's no reason why that game was as close as it was.
Yeah.
And the issue, like, the main crux is that, like, I get why he's doing it, because it's early season and you are trying to get Derek Lively back into the swing of things. But I don't think Duke can play a too big lineup and be good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got to roll, and like it's going to come at – it's going to lessen the minutes of Young. It is going to decrease the amount of minutes that Filipowski and Lively will each get individually, which I don't know if that's going to be like an issue in the locker room. But like Mark Mitchell can't play like as a 3, which I think is a weird thing that Shire is seeing. Like Shire's almost like exclusively playing him as a small forward, and he can't shoot it. Like everything he shoots is like a line drive. I hope it goes in.
Yeah.
He doesn't stretch the floor. Like, no, he can almost exclusively drive with his left hand. And like, for what it's worth, this team shoots a lot of threes and they don't have a ton of shooters. Like, or they're not playing the shooters. Jacob Grandison is barely getting touches when he's in the half court. Mm-hmm. Right. Jaden Shoot is not getting minutes. Jalen Blakes is a more willing shooter than he was, but he's not a good shooter. Kyle Filipowski's got a good stroke, but he's shooting like 36%.
Yeah.
Jeremy Roach, not a great shooter. Like, it's a lot of like volume shooter guys. And so I think that there also is like a lack of – it's kind of what we saw in the K era, where it was just like give the ball to your star freshman and like everyone clears out of the way, and if they send a double, feed it to someone else. And it was super reliant on individual playmaking. They don't really have that this year, I don't think. Like you said in the pre-show, like unless Filipowski and Ryan Young are getting offensive boards and then putting it back up, this team can struggle to score. And it's not – you're not wrong in that assessment. So I think Shire needs to like figure out some offensive sets that'll like move the ball around more quickly. Like he can't just be so reliant on like a horn set or like just a simple pick and roll at the top of the key.
Yeah.
And yeah, there just can't like. I mean, like I can count like the number of times that this team has had spurts where they just like the final 10 minutes against Purdue, they just don't score. Like they had a Filipowski free throw and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just don't get buckets. And
Yeah.
Tyrese Proctor has yet to show that he could shoot it from three, which was a big like piece of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I did like what I saw when they put Tyrese Proctor in like a more lead guard role and made Roach come off of like down screens on those little curls at the elbows. But this team is not. It's just not there offensively, and Shire's going to have to figure that out. And it's a tough ask, I think, in year one. Plus, he's still trying to figure out where like Whitehead and Lively fit into the equation, especially them like coming back from injury.
Yeah.
The Oregon State game is concerning. The Purdue loss, I just think it was one of those things that, like a young team got steamrolled by a better coach and a better team at the moment. And Fletcher Lawyers, I mean, his spacing, his IQ, just that team, they've been through the ringer. And so Purdue obviously I mean, it's not like Purdue like didn't steamroll the other teams they played. They steamrolled Gonzaga and they steamrolled I forget who they played in the first game, but
West Virginia.
Yeah, they steamrolled West Virginia. Because it was what, like 15 plus point victories in all of them.
Yeah,
I think it was similar to the UConn thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just you can't simulate guarding a 7'4" guy, so I can't fault like Derek Lively and Filipowski for fouling out. But gotta figure it. I mean, Shire's got a lot to tinker with because this is, again, it's kind of like a collection of parts thing.
Yeah.
And
Proctor looked promising, I think, against Purdue.
Against
Purdue. Shot 7 for 13. He missed every three he took, but he was 7 for 13 from the field and led the team in scoring. And that's better than he's been previously. So that's a step in the right direction for sure. Yeah. Because there have been games where like he just could not buy a basket.
No, and I think that's the issue with this team. It's not like there are times where like the looks are good. Like it's not. I wouldn't say like they're taking bad shots most of the time.
Yeah.
Like they just can't score.
Filipowski was the only player to hit a three against Purdue.
Yeah.
Duke went 2 for 19.
No.
With Filipowski going 2 for 4. And that's the problem is like Filipowski cannot be your number one perimeter threat and your number one interior threat at the same time. Like he has to be one of those things. And I mean, luckily enough for Shire and luckily enough for Duke, Filipowski and Ryan Young have really put the team on their back and given
offensively
and given Proctor and Roach and Mitchell time to figure things out and given the coaching staff time to like figure out what works. But we're getting to the point where like, all right, you need to know what works at this point. And
this team is going to fall out of the top 25 by January. That's my thing.
You think so?
Yeah. But like it just.
And you need Whitehead to get up to speed still.
He has to get there. It'll take a little bit. And like Lively is just. See, I saw a lot of takes that people were like, "Why is Lively the number one recruit?" And it's more so. It was like the long-term upside, plus like the passing and defense he has shown, which is all there. The offense is never there. Like he's not going to back someone down in the post. And while like his form is good, you saw those 3-pointers that clanked. Yeah. That's going to take some time, but. Yeah, I don't know what the resistance is to like playing like Filipowski almost exclusively on the perimeter when Lively's in the game. Like you've got to like he's great. He's the most offensively developed big they have. So why are you not getting him touches on the block and like just letting him work? But I digress.
Yeah, because if you're going to be taking that many threes, like I mean, Filipowski can't just live in the paint. You need somebody else there, and you need. I mean, I don't know what's up with Grandison, but for what this team needs, I think he could help them, but he also just hasn't been great. So,
nope.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the shooter, but just it's not. I mean, we said it. I think we said it last time we recorded. Is like this isn't the best Duke like version of this Duke team we're gonna see, which is good.
But I don't know if we're gonna see that team. Like that's the issue.
True. Yeah. That's fair.
Like I like legitimately concerned that like all the like on paper potential just won't come to fruition.
Yeah. Let's talk
Boilermakers?
Zags.
Oh, Zags. Okay.
I mean, I'm not like sounding the alarm on Gonzaga because I mean I already knew this was a vulnerable Gonzaga team that wasn't this juggernaut Gonzaga team that we've seen the last like couple years. Like I didn't expect this team to like be unstoppable, especially with the non-conference schedule they have. I mean, they still have to play Baylor this week. I'm not surprised that they're like looking a little rough right now, but they need a number 2. Like I think that's maybe part of what it is like you have Timmy, you know what you're getting from Timmy. Timmy's the number 1. Timmy's the guy. After that, who do you have to be that number 2? And I think it needs to be Julian Strother.
It should be.
It should be Julian Strother. And I think he stepped up to be that guy again in the third place game.
Xavier game, yeah.
In the Xavier game. But yeah, I think that needs to be how they do things. And they're still working out the defense too. Like the defense isn't really
the defense is going to come, and the guard play is going to come.
Yeah.
Like we were eventually going to get to a point where like Hickman and Smith like are going to be fine, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're going to figure it out. Like I'm not worried about like the combination of Hickman, Bolton, and Smith. And then like Salas is going to come with time. I worry a little bit like about the Dominic Harris like dad like Twitter stuff. That's like a little concerning, but like he doesn't have a large enough role to where I wonder if like it really impacts it that much.
Yeah.
But that's just a little that's like a little storyline thread to like follow throughout the season. But no, like you I mean Mark Few's resume has to like you can't be sounding the alarms yet. Like this is not one of those teams that was like tailor-made to like get rolling early. And like when you lose Nembhard, you have talked about this ad nauseum, but like when you lose a guy of Nembhard's caliber, you just like because like Hickman didn't have to worry about like all this primary creation in the pick and roll.
Yeah.
So it's gonna come with time, and it will because Few knows what he's doing. It'll come. That's
and
why
Hickman,
like, you can't.
Hickman is improving so far. Like early in the season, he was a pretty clear negative. Like I think the stats reflected that. Like I mean, look at box plus minus if you're a box plus minus guy, but like he was one of their worst players in terms of like what was happening when he was on the court, and that's starting to turn around. Like I think he's starting to come into his own a little bit. I mean, Rasheed Bolton, he's good. Like Rasheed Bolton's good. So
he's a solid like tertiary scorer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He's a good like guy to have in your back pocket is like he's gonna hit that 3 if we need him to.
He's gonna go for at least 9 to like 14 a game, and he can hit 20 if he gets really hot.
Yeah.
That's what he is. That's fine. Because you need it. And you need guys to space the floor around Timmy. And defensively, like Timmy, just like you obviously lost the interior rim protection of Chet Holmgren. So
yeah. I mean, they've lost pieces. Shout out Andrew Nembhard for hitting the buzzer beater for the Pacers.
Yes, big shout out
over LeBron James. Big moment for Andrew Nembhard
for the youngster.
Yep. I don't really know what to say. I mean, Oregon State's bad. Like Portland State has now beaten them twice.
Yep.
Florida, I correctly predicted that they would finish 6th in this tournament. They finished 6th. They're just like not that good. I got 6, 7, 8 right. The one game I picked wrong in the first round was Purdue, West Virginia, and Purdue ended up winning the tournament. Kind of tough.
Yikes.
Yeah, and then Xavier, they've like played so many good teams close, but they just aren't
there.
They just aren't there yet.
Can't. See, I was like watching the Xavier Duke game with my dad, and we were like very confused why with 49 seconds remaining in the game at like 7 points, why Xavier let the ball go all the way down to 22 seconds and defended instead of fouling.
Yeah. I don't know.
7 points is very reachable, especially when you send Mark Mitchell to the line. So I did not understand like that late game processing, but I mean, you know what you're like. Boom can get a bucket whenever he wants. Seemingly, he was at the line constantly in that Duke game. For what it's worth, I didn't watch the Gonzaga Xavier game. But Nunji and Fremantle, you also know what like you're getting. Like it's a quality Big East team, and Miller's going to have this team ready to go. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really like. They can compete,
Right.
which I thought we knew. So
yeah, I think we had Xavier in our preseason top 30, and that's kind of held strong, I think, because their 3 losses are to 3 top 25 teams by single digits. So they're like they're there. Like they narrowly lost to Indiana, they lost to Duke by 7, and they lost to Gonzaga by 4. So they're around there. And I mean, in that Gonzaga game, Jack Nunji was awesome. Jones was great. Sully Boom wasn't super efficient, but he's had other games this season where he's been good. So
yeah. Give him a pass.
And then I mean, Fremantle he's a good piece, and it's good that he's out of the doghouse. So yeah. But all right, Purdue. We have to talk Purdue now.
We have to,
dude. Okay, I thought you would think that losing Jaden Ivey, Travion Williams, Sasha Stefanovic would be a very, very bad thing, which I think, I mean, it is. It's not good to lose those types of players, but Matt Painter, I did not give him enough credit as one of the best X's and O's coaches in the country, who you could give him like 3 guys off the street and like, you know, a 7-footer, and he's gonna finish like top 5.
The 7-footer is crucial. That's a crucial piece.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's a brand play. But yeah, if he has a 7-footer and just like a bunch of like 2 guys who can shoot, then he's fine.
Yes,
he's fine. I don't know. We mentioned it. Purdue steamrolled every team they played. They steamrolled.
Yeah.
They steamrolled West Virginia, Gonzaga, and Duke. And I just don't know what you do to stop this team. Like, Zach Edey's a monster. I think at this point he should be the favorite for National Player of the Year. He's giving you 21 and 12, and just like, even if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's creating he's creating mismatches. He's drawing so much attention. And I think that's kind of what you have to do to beat Purdue right now, is double Zach Edey and just hope that the 4 guys they have on their team shooting 36% from 3 are just not hitting shots that day.
Yeah.
Because one of them's going to be open if you're doubling Zach Edey down low. So you just got to hope they miss.
Which you have to do.
Which you have to do. You have to.
And he's making free throws, which makes it like you can't foul him.
Yeah. So you have Zach Edey playing like that. You have to double him. And I'm not ready. I'm not going to totally overreact. Like, there were people putting Purdue at number 1 in their poll for this week.
ESPN did.
Did they?
Yeah.
I think Andy Katz had them at 1 too.
That's fine. Andy Katz works for the Big Ten.
He does. Yes, this is true. He had Rutgers in his preseason like top 20. So I'm not ready to go that far, because like there are going to be games where, and to their credit, the defense was, I mean, they held Duke scoreless for the last like 9 minutes of that game, basically. So the defense has been pretty solid so far. But there are going to be games where this backcourt gets exposed on defense. There are going to be games where Zach Edey gets into foul trouble. There are going to be games where they miss those shots. So like I don't think Purdue, it's fair to expect them to just steamroll everybody. Like, I think there are flaws with this Purdue team, I think. But just the very basic outline of like what Purdue is scary.
They're so unselfish, which they have to do. But like, I mean, just they space the floor, they defend.
Yeah,
Zach Edey is. I mean, you can't simulate guarding a 7'4" guy, which I've said, but they are so absurdly talented.
Yeah, they're a problem. And I think, I mean, I mentioned them losing those 3 really good players, but like Ivy, Stefanovic, and Williams are in a vacuum all extremely good. But I feel like they all were better suited for like their own, like a different system in a way. Like Jaden Ivey, insane athlete. Like, I absolutely would have drafted him in the top 5. I mean, electric scorer, but like not a primary ball handler really. Like I think you really want him to be off ball, and so he kind of like didn't really fit into that mold that he kind of needed to last season. Is like,
Yeah.
All right, could you like create for others? And then, I mean, having Travion Williams and Zach Edey, who were both phenomenal players, not being able to play together, I think hurt both of them. So as much talent as this Purdue team had last year, I think the fit right now is better than it was last year for the pieces that they have, because they can really just structure everything around Zach Edey, and the other guys just fall into place. Like you don't need Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith to be awesome, but they can just be good, and they've been good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Because when you have one of the most efficient bigs in the country, who is, contrary to my belief at the beginning of the season, who is capable of playing 30 minutes a night, yeah, you're going to be a good team. And we'll see. What's your thought on this? So the Big Ten kind of stylistically has preferred traditional bigs for a few years now. And that's something that doesn't really get exposed in Big Ten play because everybody's doing it. Like you can't expose that when every single team is playing a traditional big pretty much in the Big Ten. But then we see them get to the tournament and suddenly, all right, we're switching this big out to the perimeter. We're exposing that mismatch. And the Big Ten, their results in the tournament have not been that great. So do you think, I mean, are we going to see something similar? Like this Purdue team, they're building around Zach Edey. I don't know.
The problem is when he gets in foul trouble, but like we didn't see that against Gonzaga or Duke, who I would say like fit that more traditional mold a little bit. But I don't know. Like, no, I don't know. Like, because that obviously has been the Achilles heel of the Big Ten since. I mean, they haven't won a national title since Michigan State in 2000. So I don't know, man. Like, you have to be able to switch Edey out on the perimeter, but like if your lead guards like have shown an inability to shoot the ball, they're just gonna go under screens and he can just sit back and drop coverage. And when he sits back and drop coverage, that takes away the lob threat for your bigs. So
yeah,
it goes back to like you pointing out like Iowa State getting favorable matchups. Like if Purdue gets favorable matchups, nothing you can really do.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean to use that as like an excuse for teams either. Like,
no, I get it.
At the end of the day, you win the game. Like,
yeah.
So who cares?
And
like you won.
Purdue
you can only play the team in front of you, and you won.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So Arizona, UConn, Purdue are all really, really good.
Very good. All top 10 teams.
All top 10 teams. Yes. And I don't think we had Purdue in our top 30. I think they're the only team that didn't make it of those teams.
They did not.
Yeah. But I think we did have real questions about like
Zach Edey going 30 minutes.
Yeah. Zach Edey going 30 minutes. Is the backcourt good?
Yeah.
They're undersized for one. And I mean, not great defenders. So, but yeah, Purdue's good. Staying in the Big Ten, we can end on this. Maryland's actually good, dude.
They are.
I don't know how, but we're like actually really good. We're like really balanced. We're not deep. We're still not deep. Like, don't let the results fool you. The fact that we've won every game by 16 points or more, we're not deep. We have a really good starting five. We had 3 guys score 20 points last game. And then the 2 games before that, we had 5 players in double digits. And then after that, it's like, all right, Ian Martinez, maybe. Jahari Long, maybe. Hopefully somebody. But that's the thing that worries me a little bit about this team is like they don't have a ton off the bench. They don't have a ton. And we're playing Louisville right now as I speak. And I'm just I'm a little bit worried. Let me check. I haven't looked.
It's going to be a good live reaction for those on YouTube.
We're up 11 with 10 minutes in the first half.
There it is.
So
not shocking. Louisville very bad.
Bellarmine and Kentucky are tied.
Yep. Listen, Bellarmine are my darlings this year. That team covers. It does not matter. They cover. They will have you sweating, but they cover. The only one they didn't cover was when they played Loyola Marymount, but they cover against ranked teams.
Their style is just so hard to play against.
Yes.
It is. They are the new age. They're the new age Syracuse. That's what they are.
Ooh, that's a good comp.
Yeah, Syracuse is
well done.
They get to the tournament and it's like we're from the American. We've never seen a zone defense before in our lives. What do we do? And then suddenly Syracuse is in the Elite Eight because they've played all these teams that have no idea how to beat that defense. And here you have Bellarmine, who I'm not saying they're going to go to the Final Four, but they have a system that's so unique that you can't just completely switch up everything your team is doing to game plan for Bellarmine.
Also, telling your scout team in 48 hours notice to just exclusively pass the ball and not dribble in the 2 practices leading up to this game.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is just for your scout team to replicate without getting here? So, yes.
Yeah, super difficult to play against. Yeah, but Maryland's dude, I'm so impressed with Kevin Willard. I'm so impressed. It's just, yeah. I'm a little worried we're going to get knocked around a little bit once it comes to Big Ten play because we're winning with kind of a small ball lineup. Julian Reese has played really well. Dante Scott has played really well, but those guys are 6'9".
Make other teams game plan for you. Don't game plan around other teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
They look better than – they're definitely better than a 10th or 11th Big Ten finish. So
I thought I was high on them, and I had them 9th.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's encouraging. They look like a tournament team. So
they do.
What more could you ask for?
Not much.
We talked about it pre-show, but dude, Pitt against Northwestern.
No one needs to be subjected to Northwestern basketball.
Dude, I thought it would be a close, low-scoring game, and it was neither one of those.
So did everybody else, including this guy right here.
Yeah. Did you have to do a write-up after the game?
I do the rapid. We're no longer in print coverage, so we only do rapid recaps and post-game pressers. So, just a bad listen. I've told a million people this, but you reap what you sow. And Collins went into that game saying, Pitt, I dare you to beat us from 3. Because Pitt entered shooting 29.8% from 3, and only 2 players were shooting above 30% individually. And Pitt said, all right, bet. And they did. They had 14 of 22 threes. So, I don't know I don't know how many teams are going to be able to replicate that against Northwestern, but the rotations were not there.
Mm-hmm.
Pitt was getting way too many easy dribble drives into the lane. They were living at the charity stripe. And Northwestern's offense is anemic. They don't have one. They're very one-dimensional, and it's strictly on the perimeter. Chase Audige will take bad shots. Boo Buie almost can exclusively operate in the pick and roll. Ty Berry, if he catches the ball, it's going up in less than 2 dribbles. It is probably not going in. You can't throw the ball inside. Robbie Barron doesn't get enough touches. There's a laundry list of issues, and this team is 5-2. But defense is going to have to keep them in games. That's all I'll subject people to about Northwestern basketball.
Overall, the defense has been good so far, other than that game. Which is, it was a weird blowout game where the opponent shoots 64% from 3. So
I know. That's why people are acting like the sky is falling. That was not the worst loss in the Collins era, which I saw a lot. Not a good loss and not what you want from a Pitt team that is generally bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you did lose to Merrimack in your season opener 3 years ago.
That did happen. Yes.
Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah. And I'm not going to that's a game that I'm not even going to feel bad about losing. If a team, like you said, if a team enters the game shooting under 30% from 3 and then they shoot 65% because I just let them shoot thinking they're not a good shooting team, I'm not going to feel bad about that.
No, they were I don't even know. They were 2 standard deviations above the mean when it comes to their shooting yesterday.
Yeah.
Like they were in the 98th percentile.
Right.
So I don't know what to say.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? But
What are you gonna do? I mean, the help side rotations need to be there at Boo Booey, but yeah.
Are there any games, non-tournament games that we haven't touched on?
Not that I can think of.
Like
I mean, the battle for
important
Atlantis.
ones. I mean, I guess Kansas lost to Tennessee. There is that.
Kansas is just one-dimensional. Tennessee is a good defense. There we go.
Yes. I totally agree with Greg's
Yes.
take on them, which is like plans A, B, and C, Jalen Wilson, plan D, Grady Dick, forget about him, please. TCU finally figured out how to play offense against Iowa.
They did. That they did.
And Iowa finally – Chris Murray the last two games has not been good. He's shot like under – I think like 25% from the field and under 20% from three. Like he's been
That's
bad.
very bad.
And by under 20, I mean like hovering around 10% from three. So
not single digits.
Yeah, not good. Not good. Because before that, I mean, against Seton Hall and Omaha, he was lights out. Scored 29 and 30 in back-to-back games, shooting like 60% from three, which is crazy. But they just need him to be more consistent. Like, that's kind of all it is for Iowa. Also, I'm sad about Toledo losing back-to-back games.
It's not good.
No. I had them as my number 25 team entering Feast Week, and then they promptly lost 2 games to like Kansas City, and I forget who the other one was, but yeah, not good.
No. Not
all right. Well, that's it from us. Those are our takeaways from Feast Week. It was a good Feast Week, but we're starting to gear up for conference play, which is where things really get interesting.
Very excited.
So very excited for that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Sure to follow, like, subscribe, do all the things you are told to do with a podcast. We'd really appreciate it. You can follow us at Range Pod on all platforms. Follow me at KHeiserCBB. Follow Alex at Cervantes P. Alex. That's about it. Go Terps, go Cats. We'll see you next time.
No, not go Cats.